back as your host, Robert Alexander. Alongside me tonight, we have Lucas Biggers, the captain. We have James, and we have Malachi of Danger Zone Boxing. Joining us later should be Shakura and Javier. Gentlemen, how are you doing? How was your week?
Can't complain.
Excellent.
Yeah, I had a great week last week. So
Yeah, I did too. Besides all my vacationing and everything I've been doing, man, I have had to lay low. Lucas, are we live yet?
Yeah, we're live.
We are live, so I can share. Okay, guys. So starting off this week, I want to talk about the fights that went on this past weekend. And by fights, I'm talking about real fights. I'm not talking about no damn Thriller exhibition. I'm talking about the real fights that happened this past weekend. Real time boxing.
Are we gonna talk the fake boxing?
Only thing we're going to talk about that is what we thought about how they presented it in the show, because that's what the real hot topic is, but we'll get on that a little later. And of course, there was a real live boxing match during that whole fiasco, so we do have to talk about that actual fight that went down. But guys, first let's start about a man who gets a lot of slack for not taking high-end fights, even though he really doesn't get them a lot. Andrade, we're talking about Boo Boo Andrade. He had a good fight this weekend against Williams. And, you know, some people are saying that it was a tough opponent. It was a tough fight for him. But in the end, a lot of people liked the output that he showed. They liked his poise. They liked his athleticism. And, you know, he won the fight. So I want to know your take on that fight and what you think of Andrade and what's up with his future, Lucas.
Oh man, I think you're gonna get a lot of varying degrees of responses with this one. For me, Boo Boo looked to struggle. Some are gonna probably say that it was more of he made himself look bad and kind of carried it. I didn't see it that way. He did score an early knockdown, and I'm not saying he looked bad, but at the same time, I think he should have looked just a little bit better than what he did against Liam. No offense to Liam, but he's being talked up as that dude. And when you're put in that kind of a category, when you're already set at elite, that was not an elite performance for me. If anything, it was just a small step forward, a baby step.
So James, I mean, Liam was tough that night, and I believe somebody in the chat said like he looked as tough as ever. Like that particular person thought that he would have been tough against any opponent that night. Andrade is one who's talking a good talk right now. Everybody's saying for years that he needs to be up there with the Triple G's, with even Canelo. Charlo is really who should get him right now. Were you impressed with his performance, and if not, why?
Was I impressed with Williams or Andrade?
Well,
what's the question? Either one?
Either one.
Wasn't impressed with Williams, not at all. I mean, it was eating leather, and he hits with his face an awful lot. And no, I wasn't impressed with Williams at all. He took a beating in the first, he took a beating in the second, and every round they're on. But there's a lot of questions for me here, and you guys can help me with this. I saw Demetrius Andrade that could walk right through this guy and closes in the first and closes in the second, and I saw a great performance by a good fighter, but I don't understand why this guy can't close his fight in 3 against Liam Williams. Is it because he didn't want to? And I'd love to have your opinion on this. I really would, because my feeling right now is that he just let this fight go on and wanted to show his skills and those deadly uppercuts and everything he does well. It was a show and tell. It was an infomercial. And your question was, is Williams tough? Very tough. Demetrius Andrade tough. He took some punches too. No question about it. I just am not comfortable with the fact that Demetrius couldn't close this fight early. Yeah, I'd love to. You saw the conversations we had after the fight, but I'd love to get your opinion on this, all you guys, because I'm just at a loss here. Why couldn't he close that fight out? Did he not want to?
Yeah, I mean, I seen you guys having that conversation, and to be honest, I didn't see it that way. I just saw somebody that couldn't really get him out of there.
Great.
I don't think if he stepped on the gas, it would have ended any different. If anything, he could have gassed himself out eventually. So, I don't know. I'm not in that subscription with you there, James. But I'm eager also to hear from Rob and Malachi on that.
Malachi.
I thought Andrade. I thought he was going to get him out of there earlier coming into the fight. I thought he was going to stop Williams at some point. It's what most people expected, but this is the excuse me. This is the fight game, and you're not going to get everybody out of there in the fight game. So there's just going to be guys that no matter how much you beat on them, they're not going to fold. They're not going to get knocked out or stopped. And Liam Williams showed a ton of heart. Early on, I thought that Andrade showed a lot of what James had discussed, his athleticism, his ability to put punches together, his ability to get out of the way of punches. But I don't feel that it was the case that he didn't want to get him out of there. I just don't think he could. And Williams kept coming and coming and coming, and he was taking a beating. And I'm glad you pointed that out about Andrade's chin as well, because he did eat some big punches in there. Where does he go from here? I think he needs to fight Triple G, because at this point, I like him as a fighter. I've always liked him as a fighter. I think he's highly skilled, but I don't see that guy beating Canelo Alvarez that we've seen go the distance with Liam Williams. I don't see him beating Charlo, and Charlo clearly is not going to give him the fight. He told him he don't like him. I mean, that's the era we live in. Instead of fighting you, I tell you on social media how much I don't like you. And that's why you're not going to get the fight. You know, it is what it is. And he's not going to get that fight. I think he has to fight Triple G. It should be the easiest fight to make. It's an in-house fight. They're both fighting on DAZN.
Right.
Let's get it on.
So I have a same answer for you, but a different reason. I don't think that Andrade wanted to get him out of there, and I don't think it was on purpose. I think that's the way he fights. I've seen it over and over again with Andrade, where he's so much more talented than the other guy. He hurts him, but he doesn't put the foot on the gas. He's not looking for the KO at all, and he doesn't knock him out. He doesn't finish the fight. I feel like he's been that way a couple fights ago. I feel like he's been that way throughout his whole career. He just doesn't care about the knockout. He just wants to show the skill set, the skill level, and the talent, but due to being the coachings that he had maybe or whatever it may be, he just doesn't care about going for the knockout. He never has.
But, Rob, I got to interrupt here. Here's my question. Deontay Wilder said it best. They don't pay me by the round. Bam, get it on, get it done, and get it out.
Well, according to him, they do.
Why would you not want to get the guy out and get home?
Well, according to him, they do, because he thinks, and he said this multiple times, he thinks he's that talented. He thinks he's the most talented fighter in the ring when he faces the opponent, and he's a boxer. He doesn't go for the knockout. I mean, you guys can tell me when you ever seen one of his fights where he's adamant about getting the knockout. Let me know.
There's a couple of things.
There's a question as to why that is already, Rob. I mean, it's answer within a question.
There's a couple of things that come up there.
You can't answer that.
But by the way, he is basically saying he can't get the knockout.
No, it's not. He's not looking for it. He doesn't go for the knockout.
Welcome, Sakura.
Hey guys.
Did you get a haircut?
No, this just
look at him.
This is my natural hair.
Look at him already trying to bat her up.
No, I just saw something different in both the girls in my house. You know, they got haircuts too. I thought something was going on. I don't know. Maybe something I don't know. Spring, cut your hair. I don't know.
420.
Well, this is my spring where you natural hair. You like it?
Yeah, good.
Love it.
But I would
Love
love
it.
to hear from our fans out there if you guys got an opinion on this. But
Rob,
when we talk
it's-
about that,
Rob-
Floyd could. I feel like Floyd could knock everybody he ever fought out. But did he? No. And I don't think it's
You
because he
honestly
couldn't.
think that,
It's
though?
because he chose.
Do you
he
think
didn't
that?
not to? Yes.
Of
I
all people,
honestly
Floyd.
do. Yes.
Who wants to just really just make money and get out anyway? He doesn't want to fight, period. That's just what he's good at.
But okay.
But you honestly think this man wanted to be in the ring any longer than he had to be? Hell no. He's cashing a check, get the hell out. That's why his name's Money, man.
Rob, it sounds like you agree with me in the sense that he could have, which is what I'm thinking, he could have 1, 2, maybe 3. We're done. But why would he not close the fight and get out?
You have to ask him that. That's what his style is. I'm telling you. The man has shown it over and over again. There's several fights where he could have took the opponent out quick, and he didn't do it.
But I'm asking the doctor. You're telling me ask the nurse.
No, I'm telling you ask the patient. You're the doctor. I'm telling you to ask the patient.
You don't ask the patient any questions in the business of medicine, but the question is, did he or did he not have the ability to close this fight early? It seemed like he was landing punches at will, pun intended. The idea is that first, second, and third rounds were all his and running away, but he let this thing go on. And you know what? The guy's tough as nails. Williams is, but he could have closed this fight out, in my view, and he didn't. And I just don't understand why. I'd love to get Sakura's opinion on this. We heard from Lucas and from Malachi.
I guess we're talking about Andrade versus Liam Williams.
Yeah, and the question is, could he have closed this out early?
I think he did miss an opportunity in the first or the second round when he had him hurt. For some reason, it was a lot of head hunting going on instead of going to the body once you know that someone is, kind of out of it. Once Liam started coming back in the fight, those punches stopped having the same effect, obviously. You get kind of used to it.
There's that.
I think that's part of the problem. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out whether Andrade got a problem with his power going away really quickly in a fight, as in he loses steam, or if Liam just is that tough and just started taking the punishment a lot better. So I'm kind of like on the fence as to which way that was. But we could say that Andrade didn't take advantage of, trying to just tire Liam out by, getting to the body. But it was also missed with Liam a lot too. And my thing about it is like, who looked better in that fight? Like now, I'm like, damn, I want to see another fight with Liam. Instead of me being like, damn, that was an impressive knockout from Andrade. So it was a missed opportunity when you think about it in a more broader, connotation. That was a missed opportunity. But it was a great fight. And on top of that, Andrade, we know what he can take at this point. We know what rounds he starts getting fatigued. And he should be able to watch the tape and be able to, find some holes and work on some things, because I don't know whether he really, really appreciated it or not, but that was the exact type of fight that he needed to have in order to be able to hone in on his own skills and know where he needs to be, concentrate more training on. So I think it was like an excellent fight for him, even though he wasn't able to get the guy out as timely as he would have liked. We all now know like that he can, he got some things he can work on, but he also got a lot of strengths. That's a lot of punches that come from Andrade from different angles, and he's really good at defensively avoiding a lot of punches. It's the only thing I see as the issue for him is stamina. when does the gas tank run out? And that's going to happen whenever you're fighting so many lesser opponents back to back to back. You know, you really are not being tried. That's how we say in Black community. You're not being tried enough. So you have to be tried. So that's what Liam Williams provided for him. Plus, Liam Williams now got me as a fan. I want to see some more from him too. They can go ahead and just line up all these champions and let Williams go ahead and, you know, let's just, you know, make some competitive measurements and things like that based on how well they can do against Liam. That's how I'm seeing that unfold now.
I heard some people suggest that the way that Boo Boo looked in this fight may work to his advantage because it may make some people want to get in the ring with him a little bit. Maybe that they had some question marks by the way he looked. I don't know if that's the case. I think the fight that's the easiest and the one that needs to be made is against Triple G. And then, because he's just not going to get the Charlo fight. Charlo's not going to give him the fight. And Canelo doesn't seem interested in all in coming back down. And so he'd have to move up and see how that went. We'll see how that worked out for him. I still don't think that he'd get the Canelo fight for quite some time until he beats somebody with a name and really, because he's not a huge draw. Like, we know who he is because we love boxing, right? But the average fan has no idea who he is, unfortunately, man. They should, but they don't. He needs to beat somebody of measure.
They don't know who he is because he hasn't been able to have that type of competition, you know, to help bring his name out to casual fans. Right. And it's an oxymoron because it's like, what do you know, he needs to have a bigger name, but you can't get the bigger name if you don't get the competition. So he's stuck, and you ain't not going to get the bigger name. You're not going to get the bigger name unless you have a bigger, you're not going to get a better competitive name until you have a bigger name yourself. So like, it's like this way and then it's that way for him.
Yeah.
But,
I think the next step, I think the next step for Demetrius should be Golovkin because they're in the same cartel. Yeah. And it's not going to happen with Charlo because they're different cartels. And that's the only step up. And there's nothing else. I mean, who else is he going to fight?
Well, I mean, if you take a look at it, like you guys were saying and Malachi said too, but if you look at the fight and think he's doing this on purpose, you know, to actually draw, you know, bring himself out and be like, hey, I'm beatable. I don't really think that works for his style. Like, for Golovkin, people are like, no, fuck that, I'm not getting knocked out, you know. You look vulnerable, and then people are like, oh, okay, I'll fight you. But if you already kind of look, they don't really do nothing for nobody. You got to knock somebody out and make a statement. You got to build your name. You're not selling yourself whatsoever. Syrian said it himself, or was that Tim? I don't know, in our group chat there. But he's just the worst at selling himself. He comes off so awkward. He's trying to be funny, and he's just not. He is kind of like a big nerd boxer. I love the guy. I think it's great. But nobody else really gets that odd humor of his. He is truly an oddball, as Hearn said. He's just really not going to do anything for himself. And Sakura, my question is, even if he gets those opportunities, can he really capitalize on them? I'm starting to doubt it. If anything, this fight makes me doubt him more than what I ever have before.
What kind of opportunities are we talking about? We're
talking about any big fight. I'm talking about a Golovkin or a Charlo or really any of the A-listers.
Yeah, I think he would be able to, I mean, because he has genuine animosity to some of these boxers that's been avoiding him. I think a lot of that would come out in, you know, the lead-ups to those fights. I was going to say, though, I don't think it's necessarily a good thing or an easy thing to make a fight with Triple G either. This whole notion that when someone's in the same camp or the same team, or the same distribution, that it's going to be easier to make a fight. It just hasn't lived up to that, has it? Especially not for DAZN. And the other problem is that even if these networks and promotional companies, they want to continue to have two A-siders. They don't want to have it where these two A-siders fight each other before they've made a maximum amount of profit off both of them. So like they're not going to try to give up a Andrade or Triple G to each other. So it just the fact that people are saying like, oh, it's easier to make a fight when they're in the same camp. I'm starting to realize, well, no, that's not actually true. And we see that with the Zone in many, many occasions, because nobody over there has fought anyone, even though they grabbed a bunch of people from the same divisions. They still have yet to fight each other, on any meaningful level. So I don't think it will.
Well, hold on.
A fight. May I? A fight with Triple G makes sense to me because Triple G's had a lot of great fights and he's up there. Demetrius Andrade, if you look at his record, he's fought Alante Fox, Jack Cool K, Martirosian, and now he's had this last fight with Williams, but there's no A names on there, A level names on there, so it's a step up for him. And Triple G needs to fight anybody.
Yeah,
okay,
but
let's forget about making the fights.
So does Andre.
Yeah.
And so does Andre.
Let's forget about making the fights, though. Would any of you, favor him against any of the A-listers?
I do, and I do against Triple G. I think it's a style clash, and Triple G
is it a style clash,
on
or
his
is it
way
because
out.
also we've seen less and less? We've seen a Triple G that's, you can
Yes.
say, has declined. Okay, so
Yes.
you're saying a prime Golovkin, though, he would not have beat.
It would have been a hell of a competition.
Okay.
I'll tell you that.
I think so.
However,
we're all basically saying there's a lack of just overall talent there. It doesn't want to be said. I can hear it. I can see it on your face. You don't want to say it out loud, but it seems like he's not
for me
informed
to,
or
for
in the
me to
A-list
favor
community.
Triple
Like
G
we
right
don't
now,
know.
I think he's
just
in
feel
the
like
A
we don't know where he's at. Really, we really don't know.
Just because you
Right.
don't have that measurement fight
Feel
yet.
the question.
Well,
And it's 30 fights in now? Or
Hold
is
on,
it-
hold on, James. Hold on.
Fellas.
Now let me throw this at you too, though, because I think right now there's two ways to get your name out there. And the issue right now is that he's on a network like DAZN. He has to be an A-lister. But if you take the other network, like on primetime TV on Fox, you look like what Caleb Plant is doing over there. He's getting his name out there because he's getting on primetime network on Fox. You look at Tony Harrison's last fight. I'm getting calls back from home from everybody wanting to see these guys fight because they're on primetime network and they're a recognizable name in the boxing community. So if he had that opportunity for him to where he's on like a prime time situation where he's able to get Fox on a Saturday night for free, he can get his name out there a little bit more, and he can demand those
It
fights.
still would not take off. That's what I'm trying to get to. You look at Edgar Berlanga.
Caleb Plant's
look
last
at
fight
Edgar
wasn't
Berlanga.
that
Okay, he's sitting here knocking people out, but he's still, fresh to the game. But he's getting a following
also on
that's
ESPN.
already bigger than Andrade's.
He's also on ESPN. ESPN is able to market that. Now, if he's 20 fights in and he ain't knocked out nobody and he's not televised on ESPN,
No, I agree with you that
nobody's gonna
ESPN
know.
is a big helper. I mean, Friday Night Fights built a lot of champions, okay? And a lot of televised, awesomeness throughout the years. There is no doubt that ESPN is helping that. And, I'm glad that they're doing what they're doing now. But this is my point exactly, is even if he came up and got the same amount of time in 2020 that, Berlanga got, it would not have made an impact. He would not have gained any more fans. Not in my eyes. Maybe I'm wrong. But I don't see him gaining, he doesn't have an overwhelming personality and he doesn't have an overwhelming style in the ring. I mean, we're all beating around the bush. We all see it. He's just missing that star factor. And y'all looking at me like I'm crazy, and I'm just saying what what nobody else is wanting to say. Okay.
I think he is action packed in the ring. I think he does bring a lot of star power inside the ring with his skill level and his talent. But he does have an issue with, connecting with people.
But
it's
that's for you.
Problem that he has personally. Plus, he has a connection problem as far as you got to have this app to even see him. So, those are two things.
The network.
No, but I don't think that it's because he's not action packed once people see him. I mean, in the ring, I think he has that. My issue is that I don't see a Canelo fighting him because Canelo's with D-Zone. Because why? He wanted a Canelo fight. He's not going to take a chance of fighting Andrade and lose and then never get his Canelo dream fight, which it's dwindling more and more as the year goes on. But I mean, that's the reason he signed with them. Mm-hmm. So I don't see this as what Triple G is gonna want to do. I mean, he had a rough fight with Derenchenko, and then Charlo turned around and made Derenchenko look regular. So like, how do you go in and fight Andrade and come out looking good? Because many people felt like Triple G lost that fight, guys. So like, we know that Derenchenko is not as skilled as an Andrade. So I just don't see that I don't see Triple G doing that with his career.
Honestly, I don't agree with Rob. I wouldn't favor Andrade in that fight either. I don't think there's an A-list fight. Did you guys agree with Rob in that you would favor him in a fight with Golovkin?
I would.
I'd take him over Golovkin.
Really?
Yeah.
James, you too?
That's a toss-up. But I got to tell you, for Andrade, I think it's a natural step. If you look at his record, he needs somebody to fight. He needs somebody to love.
He needs
and Golovkin's got to do something. I mean, he just can't live off his name for the rest of his life.
Right.
Jesus Christ, somebody's got to do something here. And they're both in the same cartel. So to me, it's a perfect match. They'll live happily ever after, believe me.
I think he has a reason to fight Andrade, at least with boxing enthusiasts, like I said. But with common fans, Sakura, is what I was saying. Obviously we can see some love, just like Rigondeaux. You can watch that, and boxing enthusiasts can be entertained. I'm more speaking to like the common fan. But
yeah, I think a common fan would find him entertaining to watch.
I can't agree.
In the same place, he has great ring generalship. He is popping off a lot of punches. I mean,
but since when have you seen a common fan go, that's some good ring generalship?
Look at the.
Go ahead,
he also dropped William right away. That's exciting.
Yeah, right away. He dropped him right away, and that was my question: is like, why can't this guy close the show? But my real question is this a match made in heaven or what? I mean, you have the politics there. That's all fine. But Andrade style and Golovkin style coming together, I think, is pretty good. One of them's coming to fire. One of them's a little bit more defensive. They're both moving forward. They're both trains. I think it's a good matchup.
And I don't know. I mean,
I think it would sell.
I think Andrade and Golovkin.
I think it would sell.
Reason. Yeah, they both have a reason for that fight. If anything, Andrade might take it thinking, or Golovkin might take it thinking it's not going to be, Derevianchenko. If nothing else, it'll at least be, a step down in his eyes. But I would like to see it. Yes, the style clash would be crazy, and it would all be on what? Probably if Golovkin cut off the ring. And if his legs can, keep up.
Right. So, I feel like we need to move on from that.
Yeah, I feel like we could do that all night. I was getting
going
good,
going to the next topic, then, as I mentioned, I do want to talk about this Tony Harrison fight. And we have a comment from Mark Anthony here. Mark Anthony says, Boo Boo doesn't have the fan base to fight Triple G. So if you look at it, Triple G would be taking all the risk with Andrade. While Andrade has everything to gain on the business side. On the sports side, I see Boo Boo and Triple G being a good fight, not a mega fight, but a nice fight to watch. That was well said.
Mm-hmm.
So to the guy who wrote in, I'll settle for a nice fight. Thank you.
What's up, Anthony? Yeah, Mark Anthony.
I want to see that fight. Okay.
So moving on, guys, we had this interesting situation play out on Fox, as mentioned, with Tony Harrison. He fought a fighter in Perella, who actually is now being trained and mentored by Roy Jones Jr. Coming into the fight, Harrison was favored, even though he just came off of a tough, close loss to Charlo when he was, where he hit the canvas. But a lot of people thought Harrison would come out and show us, why he got to the top level that he did. And it was a little, I would say I called it a lackluster performance in my book. I thought Harrison didn't fight with enough initiative. He didn't fight with intention. He didn't do what he was supposed to do. And the fight ended up being a split decision draw. And really, there was no controversy at the end of the fight. What is your guys' take on this, and what does it do to Tony Harrison now, Lucas?
Well, I hope it opened up his eyes a little bit. It seemed like he was fighting, unprepared for the most part. I mean, he just looked like an off night. Maybe I'm wrong, but to me, it just looked like a bad night in the office. He was just off all around. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
Me personally, I really, it was hard to, both of those guys had huge layoffs. So, with that being said, Perella did an amazing job at finding different victim type shots on Harrison. And it was in a way, something that I'm not used to. So I'm not sure if I'm saying I'm not used to seeing Harrison take a punch like that. Like, he usually is more mindful about, leaving himself open and stuff like that. I mean, that for me was basically a rematch situation. I feel like, Harrison got Perella problems and Perella got Harrison problems. So I think they definitely need to have rematch. I don't know if it'll happen or not, because Perella ended up being a real solid boxer, and knew where to be, when to pick that correct punch, and the statistics at the end showed that their percentages were power punches. That seemed to be key for both of them, and neither was using the jab so much. After a certain round, I forgot which round it was, but they stopped using jabs and they were just swinging. But I think both of them knew that it was kind of like on the borderline as to whether they were winning or not. I mean, for me, I think Harrison, because he was laid off so long, because his trainer, his father and the trainer situation, there's no telling what that emotional situation in the ring, could have caused him to be thinking about the wrong thing at that time, and I just feel like that might have just been like a tune-up type fight for him, but it was the wrong tune-up. Like, I don't feel like that's the fight that he should have started back out his journey with. I really feel like he was annoyed that Perella would suggest that he could go right back and fight him, but also I think he underestimated Perella a lot too. So I just think both of them, they need a rematch, because it was a pretty even fight. If I had to pick one, and I know I'm down here in Florida, and I love Tony, but I really felt like Perella would have, I couldn't have been mad if Perella would have got the win. So I'm feeling like they need to have a rematch for sure.
Malachi?
Yeah, I had Perella winning by 2 rounds. He outlanded him throughout the fight quite significantly. Tony Harrison just continued to come in on a straight line, showing, as Sakura pointed out, very little defensive responsibility in this fight. His offensive arsenal was very limited. He could not get out of the way of the straight left hand. I know that they had mentioned that he had problems fighting southpaws, that he really doesn't like fighting them. Well, it was obvious. I also want to send a shout out to Roy Jones Jr. Because Perella looked like the guy that a lot of people thought he was when he came out as a prospect. And it's been a while since he's looked like that guy. And I thought he gave a very excellent showing. I'm interested to see where he goes under Roy's tutelage as they grow together as mentor and student. And as for Tony Harrison, he came out of this with a lot of questions, both by the fans and the media. Like, where does he go from here? I don't want to hear his name even mentioned for a world title until he beats like a J-Rock or a Hurd at this point. And the way he looked in that fight, I think both of them beat him. No disrespect. I know he just did not look anything like the guy that we saw upset Charlo. And maybe there was a reason that coming into that Charlo fight, the first one, he was such a huge underdog, because he didn't look very good to me in the second fight. Well, yeah, I don't know. Some people thought he was winning up to the point that he got stopped. I didn't have it that way. I thought Charlo was winning the fight. But he has a lot of questions coming out of this fight that need to be answered because he was supposed to destroy Goodfella in this and he didn't. Testament to him and what Roy Jones has been able to accomplish in a short time, though. But I have a lot of questions about Harrison moving forward.
I really just think he underestimated him, and had he known that Perella was that good in the skill level, I don't believe that he would have agreed to take this fight after a long layoff like he's had. So I think that all came down to just underestimating your opponent.
James?
Well, hang on.
Mark, question about Harrison is that
okay?
Yes.
Go ahead, James.
Well, question about Harrison. I've seen better boxing skills in the past. He beat Charlo, and he did it with excellent boxing skills. Forget great, excellent. He looked great that night. Jab was exceptional. Footwork was there. Everything. It was just an A+ showing. And tonight, it seemed like his boxing skills just didn't come with him. And then, you know what? Hats off to Perella. Good fella, Perella. Hats off to you because, you know what? You really, really hung in there and did super duper well. And so I was really, really impressed with him. I scored it for Harrison, though. But then there's a score here on my screen that says Lou Moret, 111, 117 for Perella. I thought that was a little crazy.
We're seeing that a lot lately for some reason. I don't know why these judges are so far off.
Well, that's a tough one for me because I come face to face with these guys every now and then, and it's like.
I thought
say
it was
that again.
a fight to judge, though, guys, because I felt that you got one boxer that's pushing the action, they forcing the action, and the other one's landing more and finding punches, power punches. So anytime you have that dynamic, it's a recipe for bad judging or judging that's off a lot.
But I mean, we keep seeing it more and more, and in this particular case, I thought that was kind of a outrageous score. And
I did too.
Man, it's a shame. It really is.
It could have been like Malachi was saying, like it's either he won by 1 or 2 rounds, but there were 2 swing rounds that they kept talking about. I would have to go back to find out which of those 2 rounds it was, but if you got 2 rounds that can go for either guy, then more than likely you're gonna set this situation up where people aren't gonna agree on who actually won.
Either way, I felt like they got it right. They scored it a draw. Mark Anthony made a great point, though. Perella is always in shape, and he takes every fight like it is his last chance. It seems like Harrison took the fight lightly, and I say now they both know what's at stake. So do a rematch and see who's actually the winner, and that's what it leads to. Malachi's comments I'll speak on a little bit. Malachi seems to push Harrison now back to the bottom of the barrel in this division. And I kind of agree with this type of performance, though. You got to come ready, whether you're out for COVID or not. It's not like Perella wasn't out for a long period of time, and he switched trainers. So there's no excuse. That man came to fight, and you didn't. So my
opinion... You're talking about Perella or Harrison?
Perella.
Perella, because Harrison's got a new trainer, too. His dad used to train him. But we lost his dad. So they both had that same thing in their corner, or that same the issue or whatever you want to call it.
But the thing is that Perella did the same, and he came to fight. And Tony Harrison didn't. So, I mean, there's no excuses for it. I mean, it is what it is. It's an unfortunate situation. But for me, in the ring, you got to let that shit go.
Well, you know what? I don't agree with you. What's new? I don't agree with you. I think that people should give... I think they should give Harrison the benefit of the doubt. He's shown us in the past that he does have that type of skill level. But damn it, the man's father just passed away, who was also his trainer. Like, that's a big ass adjustment when you're in the ring and you're used to that person being there. And not only that, he was out for like 2 years almost. I know it was like 20 something months they were saying. So like you just ain't gonna be in that type of conditioning for a full 12 round. If you ask me, he thought that he would be able to get Perella out much sooner. And when it didn't happen, that's when you started to really see the fight slide into the direction of Perella. I mean, but that's just my personal view on
use it as motivation then. Use it as motivation. Use it as your guiding light to win the fight. He didn't do it. We'll see what he can do in the rematch. I'm skeptical. Moving on, guys.
He will definitely keep him in mind when he does other fights.
Moving on, and we welcome Javier to the show. He's on here somewhere. There goes Javi. So let's talk about the other fight then that we had this past weekend. On a card we're not going to mention yet. We're talking Regis Prograis. Now you talk about some controversy, guys. There was controversy in this fight. There was an actual knockout that really wasn't called due to a low blow, and it was pretty much called on the night of the fight as a no contest. Politics came into play. Now Regis got his knockout victory. What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on this card overall? Because really, to me, there was some funny business in this fight.
What do you mean, funny business?
So there's a lot of fans out there that believe that Red Cap could have continued, even though they took him out on a stretcher and everything. A lot of people are saying that was for show, and he was trying to get out the fight anyway.
Absolutely, that's exactly what happened. Like, anyone who's seen the replay, anyone, go back and watch that replay and show me where a punch landed. And he reacted like he just took the worst liver shot in the history of boxing, or I guess maybe he was trying to front it off as a low blow. And while Rob don't want to talk about the card, it was the Jake Paul card, and we heard completely leading up to that, oh, this is a black eye from boxing from so many people. And how sad was it that the actual real boxing that took place on this card was the black eye to boxing. It wasn't Jake Paul's fight. You know what I mean? I didn't give the boxing no black eye. It was this garbage. Because everybody's seen the replay. They showed it over and over and over.
Both.
No punch landed.
That's how strong Prograis is.
They need to do something. Like, the organizing bodies need to punish him in some manner, because it was obvious that no punch landed and he was doing all this for show.
Well, there was no instant replay there, right?
No.
It never came
no.
It never came into play. It should. It's happened before. We've seen it. I mean, there was an instant replay that was looked at for 30 minutes a few months ago. I think you guys remember that fight. I certainly don't remember the contestants, but
Maloney. It was Maloney.
You know what? I just don't remember, but it's beside the point.
Yeah, it was Franco versus Maloney.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Oh, was it? Can you repeat the fighters again?
Joshua Franco versus Andrew Maloney.
Okay, so yeah, they had this exceptionally long replay review. Here, nothing. I wish they did. I really wish they did. It came into play a week or two ago where replays weren't part of the sanctioning body's protocol. Well, in this case is what we needed. But I really, want to congratulate Prograis. I mean, he missed the punch and took the guy out, and he walked out with a TKO. So it's the first time I've ever seen that. That shows how powerful the guy is. Prograis is powerful. He's tough. He could miss a punch and clean out a guy.
So,
the punch clearly missed.
But if you quit, that is like if you don't have a real reason to have stopped as an opponent and you just quit, then I think that should be a KO.
Yeah.
Or a TKO rather.
Right.
I mean,
he quit because he didn't want to get bombed on no more. Prograis was bombing on him. And
Lucas, I'm gonna need you to speak up here.
I mean, it's not like we don't see this all the time. Look, Amir Khan, anybody? Right? Does anybody remember Fortuna also? the one that whiffed like clearly, and then Fortuna's like, oh, and he falls down all dramatic. Like, come on, man. People look for ways out. It was a way out. He tried to take it. You know, it's like at least once a month thing in boxing. We're all acting like we're surprised.
Yeah, I was sorry to interrupt, Javi, but I was talking to another fighter today, and as I was talking to him, I remember one of his last fights where his opponent exited the ring, fell to the ground, and he obviously couldn't get back in or up or whatever, and that was called I could look it up, a TKO. I'm talking about Adrian Granados in his fight with was it Fortuna?
Yeah, Fortuna.
Help me out here, Javi. I think he's one of your buddies.
That's the one where Lucas was talking about. Where
that's what Lucas was just talking about. Yeah.
Is that the same one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the guy just...
It looked like he, kind of like the fight wasn't going his way. He was very frustrated. Saw a way out. He took it.
I don't know, man. That guy's talented. He's a good fighter.
He is. But you know what? He has done that funny movement, kind of like Red Catch. I think it was also that thing. And like Lucas said, there's been a few fighters where, they're good, they're solid, but maybe they're having a rough night, or the opponent didn't get the memo that he was supposed to lose. And whenever they see something like that, and that's like a ticket out. They use it, and that's the way out. They use it.
But I don't understand, real quickly, I don't understand why Red Catch was even in the ring with Prograis. I think that's a total mismatch. If you look at Red Catch's record, he's lost all his fights. Molina, Argenis Mendez, Latticanen, Tevin Farmer, he lost to Garcia. He's lost all his big fights. Why is he in there with Prograis?
Look at the card. Look at the card. That's why.
I understand. It's what is it called? The Triller card?
I don't care what the hell it's called.
It should be a good matchup.
I'm done with it.
The only thing Ivan's known for is being beat up by Tank Davis in the sparring session. That's like the only thing he's really, really known for is he got beat up in the sparring session. They got into it on Twitter, right? So like,
who is that? Who did?
Red Cat.
Ivan.
Yeah.
Red
Okay.
Cat.
Yeah. And Tank Davis.
Yeah, that's really all he's known for. Like, because he just went through a list of fights, and I've seen the fights, but then I had to what I really like. Oh yeah, he fought him. That's right, because he did lose at these fights, and I think they brought him back as like a tune-up fight, James.
But I think it's like Red Catch he was fighting at welterweight, and Prograis is still at 140. So maybe they thought that it would kind of balance out. Him having a little bit of weight, advantage over Prograis. But as we can see,
it backfired.
Yeah, and on top of that, Prograis is one that could really be 147 pounds now himself.
True. So Mark Anthony says the replay showed the punch didn't land to make any assumptions that the punch actually hurt the opponent. Dude either got paid or dude just said, I'm out and getting paid regardless. And then he also said it kind of reminded me of Mike Tyson versus Michael Spinks. And I think he's talking about the Fortuna fight that you guys were mentioning. But my take on it all in all, is Prograis is a great fighter. He's what real boxing needs. We need him on a card of significance, especially in the division he's in. We need him of a fight of a significance and on a card that makes sense against an opponent that makes sense. Not on this type of fight, not with this shenanigans, not with this stuff happening.
Basically, it just wasn't a pay-per-view fight. I mean, you see that kind of stuff at local house shows. You shouldn't be seeing it at no pay-per-view.
On pay-per-view.
Yeah.
I mean, he's on the GOATs on the car, Jake Paul. So, the man is blessed.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that, Hobby, because I know you dying. You're going to have your 50 minutes.
Let's not forget about my man Navarrete and Diaz, too.
That's what I'm about to touch on. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So, Hobby, start us off with our next topic. Right now, we're going into this weekend's fights. I want to preview prediction on Saturday. We can go with both bouts here. We can discuss since we're late in the show, but I want your predictions on Navarrete. He's the headliner of this event. I want to know what you think is going to happen in that fight and who's going to win. And then as far as Edgar Berlanga, he's the showstopper. He's the one everybody wants to see. Does that KO first round knockout? Does that still come into play, or is he going to go into some rounds this time? So give me your opinions on Navarrete and Berlanga, Javi.
First of all, I think Berlanga definitely he has I'll say an 80% chance that he will stop the man in the first round. He's been here, he's been training with us for some time. I mean, the man looks ready, man. He's getting a few fundamentals better. He's working on a few things. There's definitely improvement. So I think he's gonna put it all together. And yeah, I think he's being humble by saying that he's not chasing the knockout, but he is. He wants to keep that streak coming. He knows that that's what sells, and that's what's ringing bell right now. So he's gonna keep tapping that. Now, before I get to Navarrete, also another guy that's been training with a solid dude, Josue Vargas. He's also been training here, and he's a lefty. Again, this guy's been working hard, looking ready, looking sharp in sparring, everything. I think he also is gonna, put himself in the map. It's not people already know him, but I think he needs to go a little more, just make himself a little bit more noticeable for other people. But as far as my man Pitufo Diaz versus Navarrete, now I love Navarrete, right? I was like the guy's come humble, come to work. He's the typical. I'll say his name is Vaquero, that's like a cowboy. You know what I'm saying? The man comes from the countryside, right, where all they do is chill by nature, fight, box, and hang out, and just keep a nice lifestyle. So I respect that, and I always like the man. But I'm gonna be a little biased. I've been blessed to be part of Pitufo's training camp. So what I've seen and the sacrifices that go, you know what I'm saying, in a championship training, what these guys have to deal with prior to, maybe the biggest fight of his life, it's just incredible, man. And it's humbling to be there and see it. I'm not going to get into details because I'm sure he'll talk about it later. But, man, sometimes these guys go through some shit. I'm sure Navarrete and all the champions also have to deal with certain situations out of their control. But I'm going to be biased. I'm going to go with Diaz. I do think it's a 50-50 fight. I do think Navarrete has the power and the outdoor style to kind of stop the night, but at the same time, I think he hasn't faced nobody like Diaz, who has good fundamentals. Maybe not the most powerful guy, maybe not the most quickest guy, but definitely somebody that comes for war. He comes to fight, to box, and ready for war. So that men have been training for three things: boxing, fighting, and war. And that's what Navarrete is going to bring. That's what I think is going to be a fireworks. But I'm going to pick Berlanga for first KO, probably stoppage by Josue Vargas, and I'm going to go with a 12-round decision by Pitufo Diaz.
Well, I got one question for Javi. Javi, are you going to stay sober enough to be there present at the whole fight this time?
I can't promise you that, but I'll try.
Which, by the way, this fight is in Kissimmee, Florida.
That's right.
Shout out. That's where I was at, where I saw you, Javi, a couple weeks ago. Shakura.
Wait, y'all grinning at each other. What y'all got some secrets?
Got some inside jokes.
It's a boxing podcast. Shakura, give us your take.
Look at you, telling on yourself with your grins. I mean, I'm excited to see this Josue Vargas the most, actually, because I keep hearing about him, but I can't really, say that I've watched a lot of his fights. So I want to definitely check him out. And then, of course, who can't get excited about Berlanga? And we're going to see if he's able to make it past the, a certain round. And if he got some real competition this time. And then Navarrete, he's one of those guys that I enjoy watching a lot. So, I mean, I don't know much about his competition. I'm not going to sit up here and lie to y'all. But I will say that I am expecting Navarrete to perform maximum peak now that he has this main event. And I'm sure that he wants to go out in a very fashionable way, if you know what I mean.
So what are your predictions then?
I mean, I can't
remember James is keep taking count.
I can't do that because I haven't researched his opponent yet. So you're gonna have to let me slide on that one. I do find it hard to go against Navarrete, though. I can tell you that. But I do want to have a chance to look at his competition. And then Berlanga, of course. You know what? I had a gentleman named Ricardo Finesse Graham out of the St. Pete Boxing Club, and he went and was able to spar with Berlanga. He said that he's something, he's the real deal. So, pretty much he's telling me that he's working on some things in the gym and that, he's still trying to hone in on them KOs. I mean, because everybody knows that's how you get known the most is by the KO. So I'm thinking that Berlanga is going to win that one. And so I'm just looking forward to this entire card because it's all exciting and these are all action-packed type boxers that's involved on the card. And shout out to Top Rank and ESPN for putting this together.
Okay.
My credentials.
Amen. Who wants to go next? Malachi, Lucas, James?
I can keep mine short and sweet. I expect Berlanga, another early KO. I'm thinking 1 or 2, and then Navarrete. I don't know if he can stop Diaz. Diaz has not been stopped yet, so I'm going to say unanimous decision for Navarrete.
James?
I really agree with Javier. And Pitufo's got some really good skills. He's a pretty solid fighter. But he's got Navarrete coming at him, and he is a vaquero. He is a cowboy. He destroyed Dogbe, and he was a good fighter in his own right.
Yeah.
And it's a WBO featherweight title, and it's one that he's defended once. And so I look at this fight going Navarrete's way. How's it going to end? Probably a late stoppage. I'm not sure, but it's my best guess. Pitufo Diaz has got some skills, so let's see what he can do. And then as far as Berlanga, I hope he continues his streak. It's exciting. It's exciting to watch. He's a good dude, so let's see if he can get that next knockout. So I say yes on that. And I got my notes, so I think we're there. But yeah, Navarrete, probably a late stoppage.
Malachi?
I think the streak ends here. I think it ends at 16. I don't think Berlanga is going to get him out of there in the first round. It's got to end at some point. So really, I'm just saying it, hoping that's what happens, so I look good. But I think the guy gets at least to the second round. But I still like Berlanga to get him out of there, early, very early. I like Javier's breakdown of the WBO championship fight. These are two very skilled fighters. Navarrete's long, lanky, awkward style, hits like a mule. And I think Diaz is going to bring the fight to him. And I think that's going to work in Navarrete's favor. Even though he is long and lanky, the kid can fight on the inside. And I think I'm going to take him, and I think he's going to stop him. Diaz is a good fighter, and I think he's a very skilled fighter. It's just that we're on a level in my opinion, I haven't seen him fight at. So I'm interested in seeing what he brings to the table this time. Should he upset him? His stock goes up, and there's a lot of good quality fights to be made for the winner in that division.
So before I turn to mine, I'm going to go to a couple of comments. Boxing Playhouse in the house says, I can't wait to see this entire card. And then we have Matt Lynn Cooper who says, will I know what I'll be watching this weekend? And it is a good card with a couple of names, as we mentioned. Mark Anthony just chimed in. He said, it will be interesting if Berlanga goes all out like his last fight to get that KO in the first rounds.
Rob, I don't know if you can see also the YouTube comments, but we got Bon QQ? I don't know what that's. I'm probably saying that all the way wrong. I apologize. Berlanga is a great fighter, but Benavidez beats them all. He went on to say Benavidez, son of Andre the Giant.
So that's a Benavidez fan, and you know what? I like that. I like Benavidez. To finish off Mark Anthony, though, he said he wants to see Berlanga goes all out like his last fight. Then we will see how Berlanga adapts to someone being there more than one round. Last fight, he turned a little wild. And he did, but look, if there's a true definition of the nickname bad intentions, this kid has it because every punch he throws with bad intentions. And he's so damn big and powerful.
Honestly, Wild is good. And a guy like him, Wild's good.
Yeah.
Because the problem is when you're textbook, you're more predictable, right? That's why Maidana was so successful in that first fight against Floyd. You can't predict that kind of stuff.
Exactly. So I see Berlanga.
Andrade the same. Isn't he kind of like, he can get a little wild in there?
She had to throw that at
he's
you.
not action-packed.
She had to go back to that.
But, I said fighters like Berlanga because it helps with his power. When you're trying to be a slick boxer and you're awkward, you just look awkward.
But let me finish my predictions, though. So I say Berlanga gets the first round knockout. I don't see any problems with that here. As far as the Navarrete fight goes, I really love Javi's perspective because he does have an insider's view and he didn't give too much in the way there. But he makes a great point. And Navarrete does come at you. In the last couple of fights, a lot of people thought that he was a little skeptical of his performances because he was getting hit with a lot of punches. The defense wasn't always there. And I think that could be a potential problem down the line for Navarrete. However, he is the headliner. This is his main event. This is his show. And where the problem's going to lie is within the power. I think Navarrete stops him in the later rounds. I think he'll be able to get him in the 8th, 9th round. He'll be able to get a precious knockout, and we'll all be talking about it come next Tuesday.
Once you go main event, you definitely don't want to go back.
If you're not in Berlanga's corner, if you're in the opposite corner for Desmond, what do you say other than he's going to aim for the knockout, you just got to survive?
Okay.
I mean, you know it's coming, right? Like he's completely headhunting. We all know it's going to happen. He just needs to survive the first round. That's it. And he could very well punch himself out. A big guy like that has not been, in there for them heavy rounds, those long-lasting fights. I say drag him. Drag it as long as you can. That's really your only decision right now, is to make that fight last as long as humanly possible.
You're telling your guy, go out there and grab every opportunity.
Bernard him. Yes, just get inside. I want to see more hugs than the Care Bears, all right? I want to see hugs that'll make, your grandma just blush.
So, guys, sometimes at the end of the show, we actually have quotes from the show that are classic. That one right there, Lucas, is going on a T-shirt. I want to see more hugs than the Care Bears. I love it. That's a good one.
I like the other one because Bernard him definitely has. For somebody to Bernard him, they need to have the experience, the slickness, and the whole seasoning that comes with the veteran, the knows his way around the ring and, maneuver here and there. But when he finds that, because that's a curiosity, right? The curiosity is, okay, can he carry his power through the later rounds? Does he have the power that's going to last throughout the last rounds? And can he do that, in the second, third, fourth round? What's going to happen? What can we see? Is he going to get sloppy? Is he going to get slower? Is he going to get winded? That's a curiosity that we all have, all these questions that we have. So in a way, it's a good thing that he can keep the streak going. But at the same way, it's like if he can, checks those questions that people have, his stock will go up too. You know what I'm saying?
It's kind of a win-win for Berlanga because, like I said, it'll impress me if he actually does go through some hard rounds. It goes a little deeper, and he's still able to pull it out.
Yep.
Either way, we all have him winning.
Right. He's winning for sure. But, I mean, I've seen some sparring. I'm not going to say he take it easy on guy. But he's been sparring some hard rounds, and there's a few guys that take him there. You know what I'm saying? They're working with him and everything, but they take him there. Now, I'm gonna tell you something. This car is gonna feel like a whole Puerto Rican Day parade in New York City on June. The whole stack is I think my man Joseph Adorno too. Bless hands. He's gonna be in the car too. His brother's gonna be in the car too. So this whole car is stacked with a bunch of Rican fighters, a bunch of Mexico versus Puerto Rican matches. So it's gonna be fireworks, baby. It's gonna be Kissimmee is gonna be lit. That's all I'm gonna tell you. And Javi, the heavy boxing represent is gonna be lit too.
And Kissimmee, fan base. That's like all Latin. So
that's a whole San Juan. That's a whole San Juan coming to.
So I know them. I know them now too. I should have picked this week to go.
I tried to get you to do that.
So let's go.
The other weekend.
Let's go to. I had no choice. Let's go to the tweet of the week. We're gonna skip over this next topic to reserve it for like a little rapid fire session. But let's go ahead and go to Shakura's tweet of the week.
Okay, so of course, Twitter is such a yummy situation these days. But we had somebody named B that was on there. He's one of my friends, so shout out to B. He says, "Can we get Davis and Garcia, that's Mikey Garcia, in the same ring in 2021? Forget about whatever is or isn't happening at 135. After Barrios, give me Tank versus Mikey. I want to know, guys, is this a fight that you guys would want to see? And is there any way in hell that Mikey could go back down and wait at this point?" So that was my question from that.
Well, the interesting fact is that Tank is moving up. This Barrios fight is going to be at 140. So he's now agreeing to move up in weight. So I think it's a good possibility, especially for Mikey Garcia, because I think Mikey teeters around that range. I think it's a great opportunity for Mikey Garcia, and it is a fight to actually show us if really Tank is the best or not. And it's a step in the right direction towards Mikey to get back up there at the top.
So do you think Mikey can get to 140 though? Do you think he can make that?
Absolutely. I think he can make that. I think he teeters around between 140 and 147. I think he can get back down. I think he should get back down.
Robert Garcia's went on record saying that's what he prefers. He would like him to go back down there. Their camp has discussed it with him. I know they were trying to get the Manny Pacquiao fight at 147. If they couldn't do that, everything that they had stated was that they are planning to go back down to 140. That's an excellent fight. I would love to see that fight.
This is the third question that I should have added on. Do you think that Mikey Garcia will be willing to do a Davis fight?
Absolutely, because I think he thinks he could win. I think Mikey would be the favorite in that fight.
Should be the favorite.
If we're talking 140,
Lucas,
I don't think he can get down to 135 if that's what we were talking about. If we're talking 140. If we're talking about 140, I think
140
he can definitely make that. And it's a fight to be made. I think there's a lot of money in that fight.
You would favor Tank Davis versus Mikey Garcia, Sakara? I mean, like who is Tank beat that you would favor him over?
No. See, you misunderstanding me. I'm just shocked that Rob is not falling in line and being on Tank Davis' side. This is what I'm shocked at.
Now that this fight ain't made, so I'm not gonna sit there and tilt my will towards any direction. The question was, can the fight be made? And what do you think about it? And I think yes, and it absolutely should be made.
So are you going for or against Davis?
I'm never going against Tank. Never going against Tank.
That was the shocking part, Malachi. For me, I think that Davis can lay out anybody if he catches you. And that's just real. The power is dominant with him. So if he catches Mikey at any point, I think Mikey will get his ass laid out. Point blank. If we stick to just boxing and skills and him staying away from Davis's punches, then I see Mikey winning that fight. But if he gets any chance to land anything solid whatsoever However, on to Mikey Garcia. Yeah, I'll pick Davis all day in that scenario. So that's the two ways you can look at it. Do I see this fight happening? If Mikey isn't going to get the Pacquiao fight, then I see that as a great second choice because it would be a pay-per-view. And Mikey could make some good coins. If Mikey gets that Pacquiao money, then that fight ain't going to happen. Because he's going to ride off into the sunset after he get the Pacquiao money. That's how I see that. So those are my two predictions. But I want to hear, I'm still interested in what the other two guys got to say, James and Javi, on this subject.
We got some comments
Javi,
before they go.
Go for it.
Bon QQ says Tank versus Devin Haney or Tank versus Shakur Stevenson are great fights that should happen. Tank over Garcia. So that's what they say. Shakur Stevenson is skillful. He gifted. He would for sure beat Tank on points. Tank fighting easy fights. Mayweather picked for him. Tank is not that good. Shakur is much better.
Okay, so obviously then I liked you at Benavidez. I don't like you with Shakur Stevenson over Tank. I cannot agree with you on that one wholeheartedly.
Tank's his boy, Bon. Tank's his boy.
Javi, I'm sorry we interrupted you, Javi. Go ahead, bro.
That's good, man. I think I would like to see that fight at 140. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Tank, it is coming up at 140. I don't think Mike is gonna or trying to be at 135. He's trying to stay at 140. So I think it only makes sense. And on this one, damn, that's I will say Tank probably will hurt him, but won't stop him. He won't stop him because Mike is just too seasoned, too fundamentally sound. He's just too technical. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I'm sure if he catch him flush, he will drop him. But I think Mikey's defense is better than that. You know what I'm saying? He will get caught, but I don't think it's gonna be like a complete flush punch. So I think that will fight will go on decision just because of Tank's power. But I do take Shakur over Tank all day of the week, any day of the week. I have to say that.
James.
I think it's a rough step for Tank because he's just not at the weight. He's not at 140 now. If he's coming up to 140 for Barrios, he's not doing Mikey Garcia at 140. He's only doing Mario Barrios. There's a reason for that. Another thing is that I think that Mikey Garcia is looking for bigger and better. Bigger meaning, not the Errol Spence because that didn't work out, but some of the top welters. And if he's coming down to 140, it's probably not going to be Tank who's moving up. I just don't see that happening. I don't see that match being made. For Gervonta Davis to fight Mikey Garcia, I'm not saying it's impossible, but probably not going to happen anytime soon. I like Tank Davis. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Tank Stevenson. I think that's a good one. I think that's something we should be talking about. And a few others out there for Tank. But Garcia is probably a throw. It's probably a really, really way off in the offing there. I just don't see it happening. Now, if they did, great. Let's see it. But no,
I just want to know what the strategy is for having Tank go up to 140 right now. I mean, he barely.
What James said, the matchup.
135, because I don't really
grab the title.
They had to make 130 last time, right? With Santa Cruz.
No, remember the Santa Cruz thing was different. Santa Cruz was the 135 and 130 titles on the line. Remember, but they fought. But I believe they did weigh in at 130.
That's right.
You're right. I believe
That's
they
correct.
did weigh in.
That's what I'm saying. So it's still like, did he really do the 135 fight?
No, he's moving up 2 weight classes for Barrios.
Right.
And that's what the talk is. He's moving up 2 weight classes to fight Barrios, which the Mayweather camp is saying like they want him to go. But if you remember when Mayweather fought, he was saying he can go anywhere. When Mayweather fought, Mayweather was saying he can go anywhere between 140 to 154. I think that's the same concept with Tank. If the matchup is good, and the money's right, and the matchup is good, they'll move up. grab a title. Like Malachi said, if there's better matchups for more money at the lower weights, they can take the lower fights. It all depends on the matchup. Let's face it. Much to Lucas's, what Lucas hates, they're probably going to bring him up like Mayweather. They're going to look up the matchups and do what's best for him.
Why are we talking like Barrios doesn't have a chance? I'm just saying. Why are we talking like that?
Exactly.
I'm saying it. I'm saying he doesn't have a chance.
You can say that all you want, but do you know if Tank's power even carries up to 140?
I believe it does.
That's a great question, Lucas. And I respect everybody on the panel, but are we like? I'm glad James brought it up. This man fought Errol Spence, and Errol Spence never once visibly he outboxed him, but he never once visibly hurt Mikey Garcia. And so we're talking like, oh, Tank lands, he's just gonna knock him out. I'm like, well, I would think that Errol's a bigger puncher than Tank Davis, because we don't know if, as you stated, is his power going to carry up to 140 or up to 147? This is where Mikey fought Errol Spence at. So let's not forget Mikey Garcia. I think a lot of people have a kind of a bad taste in their mouth because of that performance against Errol. They thought he could have went out there and did a little more to try to make his case to win the fight. They kind of felt like he was just happy making the final bell. And maybe there's an argument for that. But let's not forget who Mikey Garcia is and what he did at the lower weight classes.
Yeah.
He's a beast, man.
And nobody's saying he's not no beast. I'm saying if he gets, I believe that the power does transfer with Tank because he's already been up 2 weight classes, at least, maybe 3, and the power's still there. So why would it fade now that he's going to 140? It's just,
here's another.
That's my point. Is it hasn't gone anywhere yet?
We can go. This is another topic, though. I think we can go back and forth for a long time. So, James, I'm gonna let you make your last point, and then we got to move on.
Thank you. Really quick here. Why would Tank be moving up if he's got all the killers at 135? 135 is super busy. It's got everybody there. Why would he move up to 140? I know that there's issues like with his weight, whatever, but why?
Well, because
Floyd.
Ramirez and Taylor get ready to fight. Taylor's already made it clear he's moving up to 147.
Right.
Ramirez has stated if he wins, he'd love to get the Crawford fight. He'd love to fight Crawford at 147. So the likelihood is we're going to have a vacant strap at 140. You beat Barrios. You already have a strap in the division if you decide to stay. Let's be real. If Ramirez or Taylor leaves that division, there's a big hole there when it comes to names.
Well, it looks like Lopez. It looks like Teofimo.
Only name left at 140 if he can maintain that weight. Prograis would be the only one left. So would we not love to see a Tank Davis versus Prograis?
Because they don't like each other. They've been taking shots at each other. Right. But my point was that the 135 division, as you said, is full of killers. Lomachenko, Devin Haney. I believe Shakur Stevens is gonna move up. You know what I mean? We got
Garcia's in there.
Down there. That's where the killer division is.
So I mean, again, here's and this is it. We got to end it on this. But here's my answer to that question: is the matchup? None of those guys agreed to fight him right now, and Tank is not going in the direction of any of those guys at 135 right now. So because he doesn't want to make that fight happen, the promotion doesn't want to make it happen. Nobody wants to make that happen for him right now. You got to grab it. You got to grab something to attention. You got to grab somebody's attention because he's now a pay-per-view fighter. So the only way to do that is to go 2 weight classes up to grab a title. That's the reason why. That's the only reason why he's fighting Barrios at 140 is because it makes sense on pay-per-view to do it that way.
Well, that's why I say I was asking you guys, what do you think the reasoning is for going up to weight class? Everybody got a different reason they think. I really don't think it has anything to do with avoiding fighters at 135, though.
Go ahead, Lucas.
Bond says Tank has power and can take a few punches. I don't think Garcia has a chance.
Damn.
Hey, I like that. Anyway, so rapid fire session, and let's please try to make the rant and Hobby's back on. I'm glad. Let's try to make the rant a little, try to be conscious of your time. But I want everybody's take on this Triller show this weekend, and the particulars of Oscar De La Hoya's shenanigans, just the overall card and how it was and how they put on this event, regardless of the fights. I don't want y'all to just, because you can go all day touching on individual fights. I want to know about the production, the broadcast, the way that it was done. I want to know your overall opinion on what they did this weekend to this sport.
Okay, the way it's done is entertaining. The way everything is set up is great. You get some actual music going. You get some different commentary. It's a whole different feel. It's more like an MTV vibe. Of fights. It doesn't feel like HBO. Big fight night. Doesn't have that feel to it. It has its own little gimmick, and that's the lane I put it in. But I don't know. It doesn't get a lot of respect from me, and I think from a lot of boxing purists who just don't really see it. It's more of a cash grab more than anything. I mean, if you look at the main event, which was Jake Paul versus somebody who's never boxed a day in his life. Now, people are getting confused. Okay, I had this argument on Facebook the other day about, well, he's not a pro, so he really shouldn't, he should be fighting these guys who are just celebrities and never fought a day in their life. And I'm like, hang on now. He's trained by BJ Flores, okay? Who's a world champion. A former world champion, but still. A former world champion, 2-time, actually. And this man knows and has been trained by the people that know how to box. Like, this man knows what he's doing now. Jake Paul's actually not a bad fighter, okay? The only issue that I have is the opposition, okay? You're making a mockery of it, and that's why it feels like MTV to me. It feels like, pros or Joes versus Jocks or whatever that show was from the 90s. That's the feel I get from it, because you got a guy who knows what he's doing versus a guy that's never probably fought a day in his life. Okay?
Now, Luke,
and people don't want to call Jake Paul a pro. He's a pro. You're getting paid, okay? You're getting paid. There's no headgear. This is not amateur hour, okay? These are real fights, and he's embarrassing people in the ring. Now, the dude's an MMA fighter, so he doesn't really know how, stand-up goes. This is a different thing. People want to compare MMA and boxing all the time, but there's not a comparison, okay? This is completely two different things. And if either guy enters the other guy's arena/universe, they're going to lose. And so, Jake Paul, at least Floyd Mayweather did it with a little bit of dignity. Stretched it out. Made it look a little better. Jake just tried to fucking clean his clock right away. Malachi, you're dying, man.
So hold on, Lucas. Hold on. And
your
guys, just for the record, it's late. I will stop you if you go too long. Done. But real quick, Lucas, the point you're trying to make is for entertainment value. Does it work?
It's for it is entertaining. It's hard to not look. It's a train wreck. You watch it, but it's there. And
so it works.
Entertaining. It's entertaining.
Okay. Let's go to James next. Please spare me a rant.
Okay, well, I just got to say I'm going to fight to the end, and I'm going to bleed to the end, and I'm going to go down to the end. And he's looking great. And I've never seen him looking so good. Jesus Christ. Yeah, can you imagine you're one of the top promoters out there. You're one of the fighters out there representing your family and your legacy and all this, and that is your promoter.
So James is disappointed in Oscar.
Bad look.
James is disappointed to Oscar De La Hoya.
I love Oscar De La Hoya. He's a good dude, and you know what? Sober, straight up, he can thump. I'll tell you right now, that boy can thump. At his age and at his weight, he can thump. But just got to stay away from the juice, man, or whatever else it was. As far as the overall presentation, I'm cool with it. But there's a lot of things I see in there. Ben Askren. You guys saw him fight and won before he moved over to, I think he eventually moved over to UFC. The guy was a monster and in impeccable shape. And he shows up in this dad bod, and looking horrible. When I saw that, I thought this guy's in deep shit. And he didn't do much workout. I think he did his workout at In-N-Out and Bob's Big Boy and McDonald's, and he was in horrible shape. I was expecting Ben Askren to have some sort of conditioning. Looked horrible. The Prograis fight was an absolute disgrace. It was a horrible mismatch. Frank Mir and Cunningham, they're heavyweights. It's fine. They did okay. Overall, I'm just not too thrilled with the whole Triller presentation. Just give me some good boxing matchups, good fair fights, featherweights, super bantams, whatever you got down there, and maybe a lightweight and a welterweight, and I'm good. This was for people who want to watch concerts and
kids.
I guess
kids.
What's the I
Teeny
don't even know
boppers, maybe YouTubers.
I don't know the names of the entertainers. I think one was Justin Bieber and whoever. Whatever. Not for me.
I gotta move to Shakira.
When they put on the fucking Temptations and some Al Green and some Smokey Robinson and some Aretha and some Anita Baker, I will be there. I'll pay.
Shakira.
And some Chuck Berry.
Shakira can't even talk. She's laughing so hard.
Malachi, some Little Richard.
Shakira. Malachi, go next.
Javi, but James, you just you did more than Javi be doing with the rant.
You call it a rant?
Somebody next. Okay, I'm dying to go. Somebody next.
Stephen A. said it best. It's like, if you're going to be considered a professional boxer, we need to see you in there with some professional people. So stop the shenanigans, Paul. And as for the other part of the card, it's entertaining. It grabs people's attentions. It's getting some people excited about boxing that haven't really been active in the sport. So if it can reactivate, as I love to say, reactivate a boxing fan, I'm all for it. Oscar, they got hotlines for you, buddy. There's no joke. There's no joke out here. His family, his friends, his colleagues, they need to go around him, because that's not a good look when you go out and you're representing boxing as a whole and this happens. Now, I'm all for having a good time, Oscar. Yes, indeed. But you cannot do that on camera like that when you represent the entire sport.
But
you that stuff in-house.
I'm going to give...
And a whole collection of fighters.
I'm going to excuse him, and I'll tell you why in a minute. I'm going to excuse him in particular because everybody's singling out his performance. I'm going to excuse him. I'll tell you why in a minute. Javi.
Listen, I think I'm going to start with Oscar, right? Yeah, I don't think you should be able to control yourself and probably not make a fool of yourself. But then again, he's a human person. He's a human being. We all make mistakes. We all like to fucking drink, do a little this, a little that. So I can't blame him for that. Now, I don't see why a lot of people...
Hold on, Shakira, let him go.
Let
Javi go.
Shit, right? A lot of people are giving his shit when you have freaking Snoop Dogg smoking blunts after blunts. The whole place is a freaking chimney. People talking about, like, sell me weed, give me weed.
Yeah, he had a contact high.
All of these shit.
Yeah, I believe, like, he...
Okay. No, that's no contact high.
Hold on. Let
I didn't know contact high.
Javi finish.
All I'm saying is, it looked like one of those youngins. It looked like a hookie party. That's what it looked like, a hookie party where there's good music. There's a section for drinks. There's a section for smokers. There's a
he didn't say that.
You know what I'm saying? And for entertaining purposes, I guess, yeah, they're trying to bring the new crowd, the young crowd. They're appealing to that. It's pretty liberal right there. They're smoking. They're talking about drinking. They're talking about all this other stuff. But as far as Jake Paul, I must admit, the kid is getting better. Yeah, the opposition definitely is weaker. But somebody's being in the ring, I have to respect the fact that when somebody lays up the gloves and get in the ring, I gotta respect it for that. I don't like this whole YouTube clowning shit. I said it from the beginning. I still don't like it, but I gotta respect the man because he is training. He's looking better. He's looking the part. But I mean, man, I thought Ben was gonna give him a little more work, being the fact that he's a MMA fighter. You know what I'm saying? But the way he looked,
but he was. He's been out of the game for a while.
Right. So, but I'm saying as a former pro fighter, I was expecting a little more condition, a little more technique, a little more skills. And honestly, man, I mean, everything that Jake Paul talked shit about him, it basically happened. He had no striking skills. The condition wasn't there. And he showed up in there like he probably had he chugged down a few beers before the waiting. So it just, he looked bloated in there. Like he was about to get his period or something. I don't know. I mean, I get it. He's not been in the ring in the cage for some years, but I think he was also trying to just cash out. I think he understand, like people say, he probably made more in this fight than he probably made in the last 3 or 4 fights of his career. So of course he saw opportunity, he took it. I can't blame him for that, but it shows sloppiness. And as far as Jake Paul, well, you're doing good, but we don't know what you got until you actually find somebody that actually fights back. That actually.
All right, that's valid. That's valid. Malachi, I gotta go. I gotta move on. Malachi,
come on, just one quick question. Come on, just one question. Javi, Clarissa Shields.
Like the crackhead now, James. Just one last question. Come on.
Go ahead. Let him
go. Jake Paul, Clarissa Shields. Who you got?
Versus Clarissa. I'm gonna go with Clarissa Shields, man. And that's a silly question. And I hate when people ask like that, like women. But I'm gonna go with Clarissa Shields.
That's right.
All right, Malachi.
Thank you,
Malachi.
baby.
Malachi.
You're in luck. I'm gonna keep it short on my way walking to the store. What I think about the card, I thought the overall presentation came off as how they wanted it, sort of like a concert with a sporting event. I do believe that that's the future. I think that more promoters are going to look at that and realize that this could pop off. It sold anywhere between 1.3 and 2 million pay-per-views. I can't hate on Jake Paul. Jake Paul brought his own people to the game. He's his own promoter. He self-promotes. He does everything that we want all our fighters to do, self-promote, bring people to the seats. It is time for him to fight a real fighter, though. He's got to fight a real fighter.
Thank you.
Where do they go from here? To keep our interest, because us is boxing, the hardcores. We're not going to continue to tune in to see the Steve Cunninghams versus the Frank Mir. We're going to need to see them start putting on some legitimate title fights, or at least fights between contenders. I do like their format, and I don't give a damn. Jake Paul can keep fighting all these dudes as long as if they start putting some legitimate world championships on these cards. I think it's actually going to be good for boxing, because it's going to bring a lot of people to the genre that may not have given it a chance before, because they're growing up in an era where boxing is boring and MMA is king. That's the common feel amongst the public. Not with us, but that's the common feel amongst the public. And Jake Paul has brought a lot of attention to boxing.
Okay.
So I'm gonna end it there.
So I hope you stay to listen on, though, because nobody's touched on this fact right here. And this is my issue.
Do it.
If you're going to bring a production and have exhibition boxing along with real boxing, is still a sport that you are promoting. Marijuana smoking and alcohol has no business being in a sport. It doesn't go hand in hand. It has no place being in this realm. Being at the arena, on the broadcast, promoting that crap, it has no business being in there. Because at the end of the day, you have two professionals trying to duke it out in the ring.
Rob.
For you to sit there and bring all that garbage, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it ever. I'm not only fearful of the future of this, I'm fearful for you to have a Teofimo Lopez title fight on this type of broadcast
on
where they're
420.
smoking weed and drinking alcohol.
On 420, and you're doing weed with the stigma, okay? Look at your hat. You look at them St. Louis Cardinals. What are they known for? Budweiser. They from St. Louis, right? You don't think beer and baseball go hand in hand?
No,
that's just sponsorship, though.
No,
sponsorship.
Thank you, James.
You don't
that's
think
sponsorship. It has no business being. It has no business being on the broadcast.
Look at Harry Carey. Harry Carey was
getting ready
drunk
to
and
go
falling.
legal across.
Harry
the board.
Carey fell out.
Once it goes legal across the board,
it has no business being.
Marijuana's not the distribution company isn't going to be like, oh, let's not promote fights.
No, because you're still going to test
marijuana and boxing.
Wasn't it Snoop promoting?
Once it becomes legal, just like you see Budweiser and Bud Light promote these fights and put their name on it and sponsor these fights. Once we see marijuana become legal in all 50 states for recreational use, and you get companies popping up with name brands, eventually somebody will come with a name brand, whether it be Marlboro or whoever. They'll start promoting these fights, man.
I thought Urkel was doing that. I thought it was not Snoop.
I don't care if
you
sponsor him, like James is saying. If a sponsor is one thing, it has no business being in your broadcast. It has no business being in the arena like that and putting it all out there in the public. You can have Hennessy be a national sponsor of the NBA. You don't see them passing around Hennessy shots at the damn game. That's not allowed.
I do see Harry Carey falling out of onto the stands and stuff, though.
Because Harry Carey died a long time ago.
So?
Well,
they don't do that no more.
Dog is a major investor in Trilla. So he's going to be investing his money, and he's not going to be able to smoke. Then I don't know where you've been for, 20-odd years, 30-odd years with Snoop. I mean, this comes with him.
Okay, so then let this shit trickle into the athletes.
Let me finish.
Let this trickle into the athletes. Then we have a problem.
Let me finish. If you've got Snoop Dogg being endorsed and also teamed up with a Martha Stewart, we can basically say that it's mainstream now. Marijuana is mainstream because there's no way they would put a Martha Stewart with a Snoop Dogg and come up with a concept of a show and it be a huge hit if marijuana wasn't mainstream now. Yeah. So there's no need in us, damn, I'm so surprised at how conservative you're sounding right here.
I think marijuana just has a really bad stigma.
Yeah, I don't feel like marijuana is anything wrong with it.
It's not just that, it's the alcohol. It's the alcohol that's up there.
The boxers don't partake in it during their fights.
They're going to. It's right there. No. Some of these guys don't take. Some of these guys
the boxers
don't
aren't
take
going
this
to
serious.
do that. You're still going to get drug tested and after the fight. You know what I'm saying? It's different.
Some of these guys ain't even taking this card serious.
Whether you guys like it or not, I'm killing me. Whether you guys like it or not,
this whole damn show.
It's like this, okay? One of my son's friends, we were doing baseball practice. He was telling him, my dad might have to leave a little early. He's got to go do a show. He knows about tough talk and all that. And he's like, "What? Your dad talks boxing, basically." And he was like, "Oh, did you hear about Jake Paul? You gonna watch that fight?" And I'm like, "Man, that's what it is, though." So they're getting the people that they're trying to get.
Yeah,
the Mike Tyson broadcast was not heavy into like that. The Mike Tyson broadcast, they didn't put it out. They didn't advertise it everywhere. They didn't toast each other up in the damn broadcast like they did. That's part of that ain't the only issue though. Ric Flair is refereeing a fucking slap fight.
No, I mean, I agree with you. It doesn't belong in boxing, but this isn't boxing. That's the way I see it.
No, it's a circus.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't.
And that's my problem. And that's my problem. Teofimo Lopez versus Kimbosa should not be partake in a circus. It's a fight.
Not at all. No, especially if there's people smoking ringside.
Yep.
That's dangerous.
All right, guys. It's going on past its expiration date. I'm going to sign off for us. Thank you all for coming on, Malachi, as always. Javi, you already logged out on us. We'll see you next Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern.